It's a deal that's been in the making for years. And on Saturday, when nearly 200 countries banded together to commit to lowering greenhouse gas emissions in an effort to save everyone from the effects of climate change, President Obama made this announcement.
A few hours ago, we succeeded. We came together around the strong agreement the world needed. We met the moment. This agreement represents the best chance we've had to save the one planet that we've got.
The headlines that followed hailed the historic agreement, landmark accord reached during the COP21 summit in Paris. But others called it a catastrophe and declared the deal meaningless unless there were more ambitious goals and a real enforcement mechanism. So which is it, and what does it mean for us? Joining me now to talk about it are two of the many who went to Paris for these talks. David Cash, Dean of UMass's McCormick Graduate School of Policy and Global Studies. Good to see you, David. John Sturman is Management Professor at the Sloan School of Management and member of MIT's Climate Interactive. It's very good to meet you. Thanks so much for being here. So the guy who started the whole climate change thing, NASA's John Hansen, 50 years ago, called it a fraud, the deal. The leader of the movement, Bill McKibben, who was with us on the radio last week, wrote in the Times today, it's like an ambitious agreement for 1995. Why are they both wrong?
Because this is a watershed moment. This is the first time that almost 200 countries get together to finally say this is a very important issue. We've got to do it, and we've got to do something real about it.
But that's what it is. It's a policy statement. That's about the end of it.
And when was the last time 200 countries came together to make this policy statement? It hasn't happened. We've been waiting for more than 2 decades for this to happen.
So isn't that enough for a major step in the right direction, John, or no?
So it is a big step in the right direction, but it is also utterly inadequate. The pledges are just that. They're promises. They have to be backed up by action. And the pledges, even if fully implemented, would only drop the expected warming by about 1.8 degrees.
But the experts, and you're one of them, know that too. But isn't their mindset, some of them were honest enough to say it openly, what David's is? We finally agreed on something. This is the step. Hopefully Bill McKibben's troops will be in the streets, and then we'll make progress as time goes along.
So I think that's the key. It's up to us now. We've got to get active. We've got to get people marching in the streets. We have to get people demanding action here and around the world.
When was the last time we had a voluntary agreement between nations where people complied with it? Voluntary agreement. No enforcement mechanism, no nothing.
Internationally?
Aren't you head of the global policy?
Yes, I am. I'm having a hard time thinking of one, but it doesn't mean there isn't one.
I mean, the bottom line is that we're depending upon good faith. We're depending upon business leaders who own legislative bodies.
No question it's imperfect, and no question that had it been legally binding, it would have been more powerful. But it's a very different time now. We had developing and developed countries at the same table. We had businesses at the same table. I am hoping that Tom May and Marcy Reid woke up on Saturday morning,
the two big utilities
in Massachusetts, and are saying it's a new world. What can our business model be?
Do you think they woke up and had that revelation, that epiphany?
I certainly hope so, because their business is being fundamentally challenged. My wife and I just did a deep energy retrofit on our house, and we're now expecting to be zero net energy, and Tom May owes us over $1,100 right now.
Tom May, formerly of Enstar, now of whatever that thing is.
Eversource.
Thank you very much. You know, the thing for a layperson, I have none of your experience. I just observe these things. When I heard that report about how the word shall was changed to should, to a citizen of the world, that says to me almost all you need to know. And the problem, it seems to me, is the most powerful. That was done for the most powerful nation in the world. Ours, because essentially our Congress would never approve a shall, right?
But then again, look at the history. We are now at a point where the U.S. government can say we are going to move forward and commit to this.
Unless
That's never
one of the
happened.
Republicans on the stage tomorrow is elected.
No, well, it's very difficult.
What happens if one of those 9 people...
It's going to be very difficult to move back the Clean Power Plan, to move back CAFE standards. Those are regulations that are going to be very difficult.
You're nodding your head in agreement.
So I do agree, but the agreement is a little bit like the top doctors in the world come to you and say, you need to lose a lot of weight or you're at risk of diabetes and heart disease and even death. And so you say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, but you don't change your diet and you don't exercise more. And then you say, now I'm going to lose 200 pounds. So if you want to be a half empty glass person, you've got evidence for that. But on the other hand, it's the best agreement we've ever had, and it creates pressure on nations with the 5-year review process to come back with stronger pledges by 2018 and really begin to cut emissions.
When you say pressure, you meaning peer pressure. That's essentially what it is.
But you know, a binding agreement is only as good as countries' intentions. And after Kyoto, which was binding, countries that didn't want to do it didn't ratify like us or just withdrew like Canada.
Okay,
so there's no difference.
Assuming that it's as good as you think it is and as much of a pathway as you seem to hope it is, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for real people sitting at home tonight if this is honored as it's drafted?
Several things. First, it's going to mean that in the future, you're going to have many more options in terms of your energy choices, in terms of the kind of cheap electric vehicles you're going to be able to get, in terms of the kinds of things where you can plug your car if you drive here and you can make money during the day because your electric car will feed electricity back into the grid. You'll have those options, but your kids and your grandchildren and their grandchildren are going to live in a much safer world.
You buy that?
Absolutely. And in addition, it's getting cheaper all the time to cut emissions. And today, with off-the-shelf, ready-to-go technology, you can make a lot of money by getting more efficient, by switching to renewable energy. So it's a great economic deal as well.
Why are you as hopeful as David seems to be about the prospects? I'm assuming most of the Republicans running for president have been virtually silent since Saturday. They will not be silent tomorrow night at 8:30. When they say, I assume in unison, my first day in office, I will do X to undo this, whatever X is. And I assume most of them will say it. Why does it survive?
So they're out of step with the science. They're out of step with even the majority of Republicans, much less the majority of people in this country. And it's a losing position. They're defending an ideology and they're defending the vested interests. Everybody's going to know this now, and that is going to end if people get active. So you ask, what should people do? People have to get active. Cut your own carbon footprint, but you also got to get politically active if this is going to make any difference.
Gentlemen, it's good. Oh, say one
Well,
more
I was
thing.
going to say, you mentioned the peer pressure from other countries, but there's going to be peer pressure from the private sector because huge opportunities are now available for growth in an area that's been locked down by fossil fuel companies. So there's going to be a lot of pressure for countries to move in this direction.
From your lips and yours too, to you know whose ears. A pleasure to see you. Pleasure
great
to
to see
meet you.
you.
Thanks
Thanks
so
very
much for
much.
your time, gentlemen.